A very good morning and a warm welcome to one and all present over here, teachers and all the educators out there. I hope you're able to hear me and see me clearly right now. And I think you should be able to see this. Great, fantastic. So, first of all, before beginning, I can see many people actually commenting that you're not able to receive the certificate. This time, considering more participants, we were not able to send the certificates to all out there. I would request everybody to wait till Wednesday, and we'll make sure that the certificates are delivered to your mail ID. Also remember that whenever we are filling the reflection form, you have to there are so whenever you log in into a certain mail id, that mail id is used to send the reflection form, not the mail id that you're actually entering. From next week onwards, this confusion will actually go away. Anyways, let's quickly begin. I wanted to answer that first. Very good morning and a warm welcome. This time I'm connecting from the city of joy, Kolkata, and I was here for a robotics session and a small teacher training program for computer science curriculum. With respect to Super Sunday workshop for all the teachers and the leaders who are participating for the first time, it's a culture and tradition at Super Teacher Edu Reforms Private Limited, where we talk to educators, discuss about the latest trends in educational technologies, curriculum, assessment, pedagogies, soft skills, and various other topics under these brackets. And it is important for us to make sure that it reaches out to maximum number of people so that there is better exposure, awareness, and better competency in each teacher in taking up the classes. Considering the new education policy, the National Education Policy 2020, a lot of reformations have happened. And over the last 2 to 3 years, the number of circulars that a school would have received is huge. So in order to make sure that everybody is there up to date, everybody is there, who are updated and upgraded, we thought Super Sunday Workshop could be a good platform. And we can see that regularly people around 4,000 to 5,000 people are submitting the reflection form. Nearly 2,000 people are live, like attending the live sessions. And if it'll be really great if you can pass on this information to as many friends in your circle, education colleagues. It'll be of great support so that I get motivated regularly to talk about it. Well, it's commitment of life as of now, so we'll make sure that every Sunday we are there. And importantly, these are the social media handles. Preferably, if you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, you will be automatically getting the notification of our programs. Now, this particular notification is quite important because I'm not able to send the message to everyone regularly. So hence, if you can subscribe to the channels, you'll get the notification automatically by those channels itself. So that's the reason I'm emphasizing on that. Otherwise, I'm not here to market my social media at any cost. It's just to purely talk to all the educators out there. And today's topic is quite interesting, and that's called as the revision techniques. Out of everything that we do in our day-to-day teaching learning transactions, revision is something that's quite a challenge. Some of you must be like, completing the portion itself is quite a task. I'm already seeking the periods from music teacher, PT teacher, the art and craft period, and trying to complete my maths and science portion. Revision ka kahan par time hai, sir? Something like that, right? Yes, revision is quite a challenge, not only for you, but also for the students. Students, it's actually next level. And I think most of us can relate to this particular factor. I'll repeat it. So here in this case, with students, what they do is, suppose if there are 10 days for the board exams or the final exams to come into picture. If you agree with me, you can actually put it on the chat. Now, here into this particular area, suppose when you talk about 10 days, the children will start setting up the timetable. In the timetable, they will write us early morning. I'll wake up at 5 a.m. from tomorrow onwards, and I'm going to start with the most rote memorization requirement of a subject, which is going to be social science. I need to remember a lot of chronologies, facts, this and that. So let me write social science first. Then the next day, I'm going to give importance to mathematics. Only 3 chapters or 4 chapters. Then again, mathematics with the remaining 3 or 4 chapters. The next day, I'll wake up again in the morning, early morning at 5 a.m. I'll start studying Hindi or Sanskrit, another language. And that's how the timetable goes. And in fact, according to this particular plan, the last 1 day or 2 days is given to revise the concepts. This is the typical mentality of the children. But what exactly happens? It's only 2 days left for the exam, and the children or the child realize that they have not even opened the textbook in the last 1 week. I'm not sure how many of you have done that. And still, the level of the confidence still peaks up at that particular time. They're like, I'm not going to give up. And they read some very great quote about quote, by Swami Vivekananda or Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, and they're like, I have 2 days in my hand. First half of the day, I'm going to give to social, then maths, and then science. And again, in the last day of the exam, they give some time for revision. 2 days goes on. Next day is the exam. Still, they have not even opened the books. Now, this is exactly the time when they come with, the troubled monkey problem. I will talk about this in some other session, but it's quite an interesting theory where the procrastination comes into play. There's a very good TED talk also on that. You should see that. But the point is, this procrastination has come to an extent where you just have to open the book at least once before entering the exam hall. This doesn't generally happen during the school days because the teachers are always there to check up on us. But most of you, I'm sure, you would do this in your graduation. That is the reason a 12th standard student who scored 90 plus in 12th and probably have an arrear in the first semester itself. Raveen sir, am I right? I don't know. I'm just taking a live example over here. So, anyways, let's continue with the fact over here. Why we are talking about it? We are talking about this because the moment we start getting on with the planner that's quite ambitious in nature, that's quite not scientific. It's more driven from your that level. I mean, that point of mental ability may not be successful all the time, and that's how the revision, which is scientific in nature, plays an important role. Before actually getting on with the session with the slides and all, I would also like to tell you that revision can happen in multiple methods. Every teacher will have their own strategies, and if you feel that those strategies are working out, please continue with that. Whatever we're going to discuss over here are somewhere around 30, 40, 50, hundreds of years old methods as well, which are going to come over here, which are proven technique. And some people would have found out somewhere. And if like Neetu ma'am has got her own method, but it's not really printed anywhere out there, people will not know about it. But Neetu knows about it. One day, probably her theory is going to become very famous. And that time, probably it will be 20, 30 years old. I hope you're able to understand what I'm saying. So believe in your method of revision if you're doing that, if you get time to do that. But let's understand some of the scientific methods as well. Let's quickly begin with the session today, teachers. Thank you so much for joining. I would like to quickly iterate that for every Super Sunday session, there'll be reflection form coming right after the session, somewhere at around 10:45 or 10:50. Fill up the reflection form. It'll have 10 questions. You need to answer 7 questions correct or more, 7 or more. If you're able to answer 7 or more questions correct and fill up the reflection form before 6 p.m. on the same day, you'll get to have your certificates. There are times where there is a delay, but the certificates will definitely reach. If certificates have not reached to certain people out there, please remember to mail to swati@superteacher.in along with your credentials, especially your phone number and email ID and school name, with which we can see if the person has completed or not. If you're confident that you do not satisfy the condition of not scoring 7 and above and not completing the reflection form before 6 p.m., I would humbly request you to please not write an email, because I would be unnecessarily spending time on checking an invalid entry. I hope you're able to understand that. And considering this to be a free session, my team members are not supporting me much. I have to do it, but I love to do it. I will definitely do it. So let me quickly share my screen and start, showing today's presentation. Is going to be quite interesting from video's point of view. Every Sunday, we keep conducting various topics. By the way, by the time the screen is getting shared, I would like to tell you that next Super Sunday workshop, the topic is going to be on staff room politics. It's quite an important topic, something to be addressed. And most people can address this not during a physical training program, but online. You will love this topic. Anyways, let's quickly go with this. The first topic over here, sorry, today's topic over here, revision, its importance, and a few techniques. Let's get back to the roots. Anytime, whenever we talk about revision, it can come under the 3 categories: revision of knowledge, revision of skills, and revision of attitude. Now, look at the beauty of this. You'll definitely fall in love with this. When we talk about revision of knowledge, it is something to retain an information that we have studied. It could be a fact, it could be a definition, it could be a theory, it could be anything. But this particular knowledge, having it in the brain, it's quite a challenge, because you have to memorize it. It's more like a rote memorization, and it's a good thing. It should be there. And importantly, only when you're able to keep your knowledge intact in the brain, will be able to apply that. Now, the next aspect of this retention of knowledge comes with revision of skills. Now, this is a beautiful thing. Revising skill is not a big deal, and nobody can learn a skill wrongly. You can't ride a cycle wrongly. No, that's very difficult actually. So it's like even after 100 times, you knowing that these are the brakes, still you press something else of the cycle to apply the brakes. That can never happen. These are the levers. Maybe you might get confused with right and left, front and back wheel, but you know that that's the brake. I hope you're able to understand. So revision of skills is somewhere where the effort is comparatively lesser, but it's easier. The point is, when more and more people start practicing on their skills, they become an expert in that particular skill. So we say now these are skillful people. Why? Because they've been practicing that regularly. Teaching is a skill. You've been regularly doing that, and that's why it's called as a practice. So when we talk about revision under the category of skills, it's more like repeating the same things. So that's why we say that these drivers are experienced. That's why they're able to drive such a big bus or a truck or a lorry, and that you cannot do wrongly. But learning wrongly can happen with respect to knowledge. So that's why whenever we talk about revision as a concept, it's dealt more under the area of knowledge and less under the area of skills. Now comes the last part called as revision of attitude. Now revision of attitude is quite an interesting area where it is more from the perspective of your character. You know that during your school days there used to be a lot of quotes and a lot of advices given by the teachers and the parents and your own parents for that matter, and they say that you should be truthful, you should respect elders, you should be consistent, disciplined. And at that time everyone was disciplined, at that time everyone was obedient and whatnot. But what happened later? We did not revise that, or else our teachers did not repeat that, or else we revised only few areas and we forgot most of them. That is the reason somewhere the students probably become disobedient a little later. Now if I have to talk from the larger perspective, when approximately at the age of 24, 25, just about to become a complete adult, just before the marriage, right after the completion of graduation, you know that you will be able to uh, be an obedient person of your character. That means if at all you want to do something in your life, good or bad, you will be the master of it. It's easy to control your brain. It's like you want to do something, you are getting attracted to some bad behavior, for example, you will immediately come back of it. You'll be like, no, no, that's wrong. I shouldn't do that. It's really bad. But the moment you cross 25 or 27 or 30 or 35, it could be any age, respectively, I mean, depending on the age category over here, that's the time when you actually forget your value system, which is under the affective domain of Bloom's taxonomy. And somewhere we get distracted. Why? Because it was not revised. So revision of attitude is directly related to revision of character as well. So it's such a small thing, but plays such a deep and an important aspect of our day-to-day life. So probably right, you either become master of an area so much that you completely not focus on attitude at all and you continue living with your value system. And that is why whenever you look into people who are 35 plus or 40 plus, they will like to study the books a lot. For example, there's this book called as the 5 a.m. Club. There is this book called as 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now when you read those books, people start suggesting that these are great books, they've written something amazing. But if you look into the reality, you know almost everything that's written in the book. Waking up early morning at 5 a.m. is good for your health, mental body, and the physical body. You know that. Do you really think that a book has to come and tell you? You feel happy about it because you revise that particular fact after a very long time. I hope you're able to understand. That comes under the category of revision of attitude. That's it. So revision of knowledge, revision of skills, revision of attitude, and all the three things, when you revise regularly, it becomes practice. And practice makes a man perfect. As simple as that. This is going to be the base of today's session, and we're going to focus heavily on revision of knowledge rather than skills and attitude today, considering the academics point of view today. Let's go forward. Let's go forward. So the first thing that I would like to tell you is revision is the process of reviewing and consolidating learning material to enhance understanding and retention. So when you keep reading a particular concept multiple times, first of all, even the perception change. First time when you learned the definition of uh, probably photosynthesis, you had an idea. When you read the same thing again, the complete perception will change. Oh, ऐसा भी होता है. Something like that. Again, you read it the third time. Oh, acha, aisa bhi hota hai. Something like that. So the perception will change, and that increases your understanding. And over the period of time, you don't have to revise it at all. You're like, it's there in my genes, it's there in my DNA now, to that extent. Revision helps in cognitive benefits, which is going to be strengthening memory and neural connections. We're going to talk about it in detail. And academic benefits, of course, improving exam performance and boosting confidence, which everybody knows about. But when we look into cognitive benefits, I think some of you would know this. Watch this. Wait a minute. This is here. So here in this case, you can see that these are the two neurons. Whenever we learn something, teachers, these neurons pass on information from one neuron to another. But whenever we try to learn something new, two neurons actually try to get connected with each other. Now, this connection, if I have to tell you, it's basically, you would have seen this in Avatar movie, where there's a plant sort of a thing where it's like they're called as the ancestors, and they have a hair with which they connect each of them, right? That's exactly over here what is called a synapse. You can see these small circles at the end of all these dendrites. They want to get connected to the next neuron, and that can happen only when you learn something new. The moment you're able to learn something new, and the moment we say that, yes, I understood this particular topic, that's exactly the time when both of them actually got connected. So that's the beauty of a brain, and revision actually happens to strengthen the bond between the two neurons. When we do not revise, it kind of gets loosened up and they leave each other. And when they leave each other, you don't remember anything. So whenever we talk about revision, it is actually to tie the knot between the two, which is already tied, in fact, but to strengthen the knot between the two neurons. I hope I'm able to provide you a simple clarity with respect to the scientific idea. So this is the two neurons. These are the synapses. You can see these are empty synapses. These can get connected to multiple other synapses. And once these synapses are connected, then that's where we say, right, connecting the dots. Now I'm able to connect the dots. It's something like that. Three of souls in Avatar movie. You're absolutely right, ma'am. Thank you so much. So yeah, here it is. So when we talk about those synapses, look at this scientific understanding of revision, the forgetting curve. So this was actually developed by Hermann Ebbinghaus. This shows how the information is lost. It is over time without review. So for example, you can see that this is the retention over here, and these are the days over here. So on the first day, so for example, on the 0th day, we learned something and we have 100% attention. Just now I've learned everything and I have 100% attention. But the next day itself, you will see that nearly 50% of the information can actually get lost. Now, depending on the teacher, depending on the topic, depending on the interest, this number can vary from person to person, but there's definitely a decline in the learning curve. In the forgetting curve. So once or else I should the remembering curve. Once it comes down on the second day, a little more, you forget. It's just like from 50, it has come down to probably 30 right now, 35. Then on the fourth day, you can see that that has become to hardly 15, 18%. Then seventh day, it's hardly 5 to 10%. And there'll be a time when this will come and touch the point and you'll completely forget everything. Now, this curve is really important for all of us to understand, because the time when you come on the first day at this level, that is exactly the time when you're supposed to revise. After revising this particular area, you know that let the curve come again a little more down, and then I will revise again. That need not be on day 2, it need not be on day 3, it could be on day 4. And after revising on day 4, the curve becomes even more flat. The point here is the more and more we revise, the less is the tendency to forget about it. Whatever I'm speaking right now, the less tendency of forgetting in revising the concepts at right time actually comes under the category of spaced repetition model. We'll talk about this, the spaced repetition model. You can see that that's the second method of revising. So the spaced repetition model is actually scheduling reviews at increasing intervals. I think you're able to see it on the screen. Yes, you are. So this particular aspect has got, in fact, it's a scientific model. By the way, teachers, did you know spaced repetition model? Have you come across this before? Anyone out there? This is how it actually looks like. Let me show you over here on the screen. No, that's great. Look at this. I hope you should be able to see this. Lovely. Look at this. So this is like, it can be first quarter, second quarter they have written, but let it be 1 day, 2 day, or 3 day, whatever it is. So here in this case, percentage of information remembered, it's 100%. Right when the curve is coming down on day 1, let's assume this to be day 1, you are revising the concepts and making sure it shoots up over here. Let's suppose we are talking about the concept of French Revolution. Uh, it is important for the teacher to come back again in the next period, probably the next day, to have a quick revision about French Revolution. That is going to be on day one. After doing that revision on day one, the next day when the teacher is coming back, they don't have to talk about French Revolution at all. They spoke about it yesterday only, right? They don't have to talk. The teacher comes back again in the class the next day. Again, they want to talk about French Revolution. No, not required, not required. But the third day when they're coming back, now the memory would have got declined a little bit. It's important for us to revise. So day one ke baad, it could be day 3 or day 4. And once we have done the day 3, day 4 revision of spaced repetition, again day 5, day 6, day 7, day 8, we don't have to do the revision. Day 10, again, we have to revise it back. So every concept in a textbook that you're, whatever subject we are learning with it, if a teacher can identify, say, 15 concepts or 18 concepts, now just because there are 8 chapters doesn't mean only 8 concepts exist. There could be more, right? Once we identify that, we can create a spaced repetition model for each and every concept depending on the timetable arrangement, and that can be added in the lesson plan itself. This is the spaced repetition of World War One. This is the spaced repetition of the microorganisms. This is the spaced repetitions of English grammar or something like that. I'll show you that as well. For that, I hope. No. Let me stop share the screen. Otherwise, I'll break the suspense of everything else. This is how it actually looks like. Come on. Yes. I hope you're able to see the screen in 3, 2, and 1. See this. The scientifically backed intervals for spaced repetition are designed to maximize long-term retention by reviewing information just before it is likely to be forgotten. The general guideline for spacing intervals might look like this. First review, 1 day after learning. Second review, 3 days after the first review. Third review, probably 1 week after the second review. Fourth review after 2 weeks. And fifth review after 1 month. Generally, after doing 5 revisions under the spaced repetition model, you don't really have to revise the same topic again. Now, the best part is once we do this, it'll be very easy for the children during the exam time to actually revise the concepts. So this is one very effective method and the most commonly used by most of you. I'm not sure if you are conscious about this word called as spaced repetition, but I'm pretty sure most of you are in alignment with what it actually means. Okay, let me quickly stop sharing the screen and I want to ask something interesting. Some of you say no, some of you say yes, it's completely fine, no problem. How many of you have this habit of see, sometimes what happens is especially during the memorization process, mugging up process, we read something on the textbook, blah 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 blah. Immediately we'll close the book and we'll close our eyes and try to revise what we have learned exactly at that second. I'll repeat it. It's like I open the book, I read something from the book, and within next 2 seconds, you close the book and quickly close your eyes and you try to revise what's present over there. Have you done that? You all do that? No, come on. No, not everybody does that. Sorry. I don't, but mark it. Some people even mark it. Now, marking it is coming under the category of passive learning, actually, because you're going to learn that later. But the moment you close the book immediately and try to recall what you've done, that comes under the category of active recall. Let me share my screen. You jot down. Jotting down is more like taking down notes. It's more like a study method. But here in this case, we're talking about revision, right? So one of the revisions that happens right during the moment of study, it's called as active recall, which you can see on the screen right now. Actively retrieving information from memory rather than passive review. Passive review in the sense, after a certain period of time, you go back to the subject and you keep on reviewing it or revising it. This could be this could be brought under the category of study method rather than revision. That's what I feel for some of the other things also. But active recall is something where simultaneously you're trying to remember. In fact, in pedagogy, where you talk about this from assessments point of view, you call this as formative assessments also. And in fact, most of us, even the students, what they do is, rather than just repeating what's present in the book, they'll close their eyes and ask a question to themselves. They'll ask a question and they'll try to answer that. It's like the most effective way of formative assessments, and this will enable the students to have better retention with revision in the future. So active recall plays an important role. Maybe you know about it, but maybe you would have forgotten about it. So it's important for the teachers out there to make sure that the children get a practice of active recall. And I'll tell you something, teachers, active recall is not a process where a teacher does to the student. It has to be done by the student themselves. Spaced repetition is not like that. Spaced repetition is something that a teacher can do to the students. Based on the timeline, you can actually repeat the concept and that happens. But with active recall, it is something that the children by themselves have to learn that at a specific, for a specific subject by themselves. Now comes the third concept, which is really interesting and one of the, I would say, which is more competency based oriented, called as interleaving practice. Now, when we talk about interleaving practice, it is about the ability of someone to connect whatever you're learning right now with other subjects or other disciplines. This generally happens with analogies also. I'll tell you, mixing different subjects or topics in one study session to improve problem solving and adaptability. You learn the concept of which my favorite, where I understood low pressure, high pressure, was because of low tides and high tides. My geography teacher, when he was talking about, Mr. Natarajan, basically, when he was talking about the low tides and high tides, that is exactly the time when I actually understood the concept of low pressure and high pressure in science, which I had not understood during the science period. So here my ability to, or a learner's ability to, combine multiple subjects. This method of revision is actually called as interleaving practice. Now, interleaving practice can be done by the teachers themselves for the students, and even the students can connect it by themselves. Interleaving practice can be called as interdisciplinary approach as well, but here it is during the time of revision. When they do this kind of revision where while they're going through a topic and forcibly try to connect with other subject, their ability to learn the other subject also actually increases. So interleaving practice is another common practice which is used by many colleges and universities, especially in the areas of medicine. In fact, in this particular website where I learned this, they actually mention a lot of medical examples. So interleaving practice, ability to connect to multiple other subjects. I'll tell you something very funny. Why funny? Because I'll tell you. Sometimes when we try to connect with other subjects, we try to connect it with people, the trees, the mountains. For example, if I have to remember the concept of, metacognition, something like that. And in metacognition, the teacher taught me about the word called as scenery. So when the teacher taught me scenery, it was about the mountains. The mountains start with the letter M, and I remember metacognition because of that. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? It's like you're not relating this metacognition with any other subject as such, but you're putting it on somebody else. Metacognition was taught to me by Mamta ma'am. So M for Mamta, M for metacognition, so I'll remember better, something like that. In this particular process, you actually create mnemonics as well. For example, when you learn about the solar system, you try to connect it with the planetary motions, this and that. A lot of connections have already happened, but now you need to remember the complete set of planets, right? Then you come and start the process of mnemonics where you say that my very educated mother just show us the 9 planets. Am I right? Yeah, something like that. Now here, in this case, the first letter of my stands for, then second letter stands for, like that. You can actually get into the details. This is more periodic table. Yeah, limerick also works. You're right. So this improves memory. It improves retention. Colors of rainbow, exactly. Vibgyor, right? Okay. Same with reactive series. Yeah, for chemistry. Absolutely, absolutely. So let me share my screen and show you one small video on interleaving practice, and that's going to be really very small, very small. It'll give you a good perspective, and then we'll get into the Feynman technique. So 1, 2, 3. You'll be able to see the screen in 3. Come on, 2 and 1.
Into what now? Don't be put off by the fancy name. All this really means is that if you study a couple of things at once, you'll learn more. Let me explain. Imagine you're learning geography and you have 3 topics: rivers, droughts, and pollution. You might think that it would be best to study everything in rivers, making sure you know it really well before moving on. It just makes sense. Better to focus on one topic and get really good at it, then tackle the next topic. But it turns out this is wrong. Remember when we talked about the pathways in the brain? You want to build the strongest path possible so that it lasts as long as possible. It feels like going over it lots in one go will be the best way to do this, but actually research shows that this isn't the case. In order to build a good path, you have to make the most effort. In the brain, effort means working hard. If you study rivers, droughts and earthquakes all at the same time, your brain has to jump between 3 different topics. That's a lot harder than just staying with one, so your brain puts in a lot more effort and you will learn the 3 topics much better. Fair warning, it will feel more difficult than studying one topic at a time. But know that all that effort is growing your brain and your learning will jumpstart.
That's it. So that is with respect to interleaving practice, and it's quite important for the teachers to make sure that during the process of revision, if the teachers themselves can connect the topics to various other subjects, the students will have a better understanding on each and every concept. Now let me show you the next part apart from interleaving practice, and this is something that most of you might do, called as taking notes. Now, taking notes is, I would again say that during the process of revision, it is more like a summary that we try to do. And for that, I hope you are able to see the screen. No? Oh, no. Okay, I'm going back again. And here we come. And it's a small thing. So Cornell note-taking system, it's actually it's a template. It's more like a format that most of us have. Look at this format and tell me if you really have it or not. I think most of you would be into this. For that, I want to show this to you, and I think you should be able to see this. So here in this case, they are dividing the whole page into 3 areas. Sometimes the teacher themselves tell the students, divide the pages into multiple parts, and everybody has got their own strategy over here. But according to Cornell note-taking method, one area is given to notes column, where whenever the teacher is speaking something, or whenever you are reading something, you want to take a summary of it, you take notes. That's the major area called as the notes column. Now, there's another column called as the Q column, where in order to remember each and every detail of a particular note, you come up with some connection over there. So just like the way we spoke about metacognitions and mountains, probably, you can write that over here in the Q column. Q column means it's more like a clue. It's like it's an area through which you might remember the bigger concept. Generally, when a teacher is asking some question to the students, and if the children are not able to answer it, you immediately come up with some cues. One of the cues could be, do you remember in this particular lecture, I gave the example of Abhay, I gave the example of Neetu, I gave the example of Preeti or something like that. Now, those are called as the cues. So here in this case, you can mention those cues. Do you do this? I do not know. Anyways, if you do that, you can put it on the chat. Similarly, next comes a summary column, where under summary column, you have got the summary of the whole session in a single line or in a 2 line, whatever you want. That's present over there, along with what is going to be supposed to be done in the next class. So this is one idea of Cornell note-taking method. Especially, it's very effective during the revision time. You just have to open this and you get everything out there. Teachers, while we're talking about so many methods out there, it's not mandatory for us to bombard the students with each and everything. But it's definitely important for us to have a differentiation in the revision process. So if you can use 2 or 3 methods for probably one term, 2 or 3 other methods for another term, the activity of revision becomes quite interesting. Now comes the next area. For that, again, I'm stopping the screen share. And that is going to be called as mind mapping. I think mind mapping, almost everyone knows about it. It's like creating the structure of how you have learned things. Mind mapping is a basic human requirement. I would say that until and unless we categorize a certain thing under a category, it becomes really difficult for us to comprehend things. For example, when we talk about teachers, how do they learn? They learn under 4 brackets in the current scenario. The first bracket is called as curriculum. The second bracket, it's called as assessment. The third bracket could be pedagogy. And the fourth bracket could be technology. Some people will be like, no, soft skills also is another bracket. And that could be the 5th category. So depending on the way you learn anything, that can fall under these 5 areas. This is called as bracketing. Mind mapping is very similar to that. Where did it all begin from? So you have the core, and from there you keep on deriving the information. And I very strongly believe that everything around us works in the form of a chain, right from food chain to our thoughts chain. So having mind map as a tool for regular touch back on our subject is kind of one of the most effective methods with which we can remember things. We can use for explanation of the chapters and also it can be picture based or statement based. You're absolutely correct. We can do with each and every lesson. Yeah. In fact, there are some publishers out there who create a mind map and they give you for each and every chapter, right? Anyways, let me show you one interesting technique that is the closest to a particular teacher, I would say. What do you mean by that? Have you ever come across a situation where you believe that you learn better when you have the thought that you're going to teach it to someone else? Am I making some sense? It's like, Somashri ma'am is going to have this plan of teaching the same class of revision techniques, conducting the same training with a fellow teachers tomorrow in the school. Her perspective of the session is going to be totally different. She will learn better or she'll concentrate better. She'll be extra precautious. We do not know. This comes under a certain category actually. And already some person spoke about it. All these Western people, I don't know why did they register and how did they register. And this is called as the Feynman technique. Let me share my screen and show you this fellow. He has done a good job. See this. 3, 2, 1.
This video is sponsored by Brilliant.org, a math and science problem-solving website that helps you think more like a scientist. In a 2007 graduation speech, Charlie Munger told an interesting, but fictional, story about two people, the great scientist Max Planck and his chauffeur. Max was, undoubtedly, a wise scientist. The people of Germany longed to hear him speak. He toured the country with his chauffeur, giving talks about his work. Day after day, the chauffeur grew tired of hearing the same speech over and over again. Finally, he asked, "Max, can I try giving the speech this time? I've listened to it so many times, I have it memorized." Max agreed to let the chauffeur give the speech. He took a seat at the front and put on the chauffeur's hat. The chauffeur pretended to be Max and played the part perfectly. The speech was a success. At the end, a small man rose and asked the chauffeur a question. His response? "That's such a simple question. I'm surprised that you would ask it. I'll let my chauffeur answer it." Charlie Munger told his story to highlight the difference between two kinds of knowledge. The deep knowledge that Max had and the shallow knowledge that the chauffeur had. The world is overflowing with information. It's impossible to learn deeply about everything. In fact, there are benefits to having a shallow understanding of ideas. For starters, it allows us to connect with other people in their area of expertise and have conversations with a wide variety of people. It also allows us to understand important things on the surface, which may be better than not understanding at all. In the essence of time, sometimes we have to outsource our understanding to experts. But in my opinion, it's always best not to act on information we haven't reviewed ourselves, if possible, because even experts can be wrong or misinformed. There are dangers associated with attaining shallow information as well. The biggest is that, like the chauffeur, we risk fooling ourselves into thinking we actually understand or know something when we don't. Even worse, we risk taking action on misinformation or misunderstanding. As Richard Feynman famously said, "The first principle is that you must not fool yourself, and you are the easiest person to fool." The best way to not be a fool is to think critically and learn deeply. One of the best ways to grasp a deeper understanding of an idea is to utilize the Feynman technique. There are 4 simple steps. Step 1. Explain the topic out loud to a peer who is unfamiliar with the topic. Meet them at their level of understanding and use the simplest language you can. Step 2. Identify any gaps in your own understanding or points where you feel that you can't explain an idea simply. Step 3. Go back to the source material and study up on your weak points until you can use simple language to explain it. And then the final step is to repeat the 3 steps above until you've mastered the topic. There are 2 main goals to strive for when using the Feynman technique. Be simple and concise. See if you can explain the concept to a 5-year-old. If you can, try to come up with an original analogy to help you explain the topic. Creating an analogy is a fantastic way to gain mastery over an idea and learn empathy. It forces you to meet the person at their level of understanding and teach them something new by relating it to an idea they are already familiar with. Here's an example of an analogy. The basic structure of a story can be thought of as a pyramid. Tension builds up to a maximum and then drops. Of course, there are many different ways to write a story, and not all of them can be reduced to such a simple structure, but the image of a pyramid conveys a lot of complex information to the student in a simple manner. They can relate the structure of a story to a shape they're familiar with and have an intuitive understanding of, the pyramid. It shows them that there must be tension in a good story. This is commonly referred to as the rising action. The tension must rise to a maximum point, which is called a climax. At this point, the tension must fall or be diffused. We refer to this as the falling action. Creating an analogy like this forces me to have a deep enough understanding of the topic to relate it to an idea the student is already familiar with. Any intelligent fool can make things bigger, more complex, and more violent. It takes a touch of genius and a lot of courage to move in the opposite direction. E. F. Schumacher. So when should we apply the Feynman technique to learn more deeply? I'd argue that the two most important places to apply it is when we're making a life-changing decision or when we're working on our craft. If you want to be an artist, you should apply it whenever you're making art so that you can deliberately improve. If you're an engineer, you might apply it when you're studying or working on a technical project. The massive advantages of using the Feynman technique are that it helps you develop a true understanding of whatever you're learning, it allows you to make informed and intelligent decisions, applying your knowledge to real-world problems becomes much easier, your teaching skills improve, and your capacity to think critically about a topic is increased.
So that's with respect to the Feynman technique. I'm deliberately stopping because after this, it's something that we have already seen. Now here in this case, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. Absolutely, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. But we can prevent that danger when you're aware that your knowledge about that subject is little. It's deep, right? I'll repeat it. You can avoid the danger completely when you're aware that the knowledge about that, what you have, you're aware that it is kind of not really deep enough. So when you're aware about that, it is a little knowledge, then the way we react to any comprehension, everything gets changed. When you're aware that this knowledge is not enough, you will not be using that anywhere on a bigger stage to make a fool out of yourself. So what's more important over here is being in the realization that the knowledge that you have is little, and that's always going to be little. That's nice, right? Quite an irony, but anyways, let me quickly go back and show you the other methods, and that would bring us to the conclusion area. So that's with respect to Feynman technique, where they very nicely talk about identify the topic. I think I'm not sure if this was actually told by Albert Einstein, where it was said that if you really want to prove yourself or know that you're thorough on a particular topic, you should be able to explain that topic even to a grade 1 or 2 student. And it's like, if you're really thorough on a particular area, you'll be able to teach it to even a child and make it very simple. Yeah, if you have that skill of making things simple, that's exactly when you are actually thorough on that particular topic. That's Feynman technique here. See, identify the topic, teach it to a child. And if you're able to teach it to a child, then you are successful over there. Review your explanation. If you think that your explanation was not enough for a 6th standard student or a 3rd standard student, then again, you have to read the concept again. The day when you're confident that you're able to teach this to even a grade 1 student, that's exactly the time when you can say that you have got a certain degree of mastery on that particular concept. Nice, no? Feynman. So yeah, it keeps you grounded. That's what I feel. The last 4 or 5 methods that we have written over here, and then one online tool I would like to show you. SQ3R method of revising. So for example, you actually start revising a particular concept on a textbook. The first thing that you need to do is open the textbook, the chapter, and start surveying the chapter or skimming the chapter. You've already gone through this chapter quite a number of times, probably once or twice during the classes. Now it's time for you to skim through it, survey through it. You are just looking at the headings. You're not really getting into the details of it. That's what they have mentioned as SQ3R. First comes the surveying. Second is questioning. Now, once you understand, like, go through the title. Okay, here in this case, metabolism. That's the title, subtitle over there. So do you know metabolism? You're asking yourself. Do you know what was the example given under metabolism? You ask yourself. That is called as questioning. So surveying, questioning. Right after that, 3R method, which is you remember, then it's great. If you don't, then you read it. And when you read it, you recite it. So first you read it once and then you recite it as if you are talking to someone else or talking to yourself. And finally, whatever you have recited, is it matching or not? Compare it with the book, which they call as reviewing it. So SQ3R, it's like surveying, questioning, reading, reciting, and reviewing during the process of revision. Nice, right? It's something that you might know. It's just that you did not know it was called as SQ3R. And when you know that it is called as SQ3R, you'll not forget even a single step out of that. That's why all these mnemonics exist in the first place, right? Next comes peer teaching, which is very close to the Feynman technique, where you are going to teach a particular concept to your fellow students or your friends. This generally happens during graduation. At least I passed my engineering because of the mercy of my friends. If they had not been there, and of course, all due credits to my professors as well, but during the revision time, it was actually my friends who actually taught me a lot. Yeah, one of my friend is my wife right now. Group mind maps. So here in this case, collaboratively create mind maps to visually organize and connect concepts. So this thing is, I really like it. When you try to create a mind map by yourself, it's one way of doing it. But when groups come into picture, 4 or 5 people sit together, they say, no, in this case, if I put this over here, it'll be better. No, actually, this is better. Group mind maps play an important role in doing the most boring task, and it brings so much of joy. And there's a lot of humor within the same peers, right? This can happen effectively even with the people who are there in the staff room, which we'll be talking about in the next session during the session on staff room politics. Then we have self-explanation, have students explain the concepts in their own words, either journals or recordings. And finally, feedback sessions. Now, feedback sessions is more like conduct regular sessions to discuss progress and address challenges. Most of the schools have this zero period concept, right? Under the zero period, probably one of the teachers can come during the initial final stages of the academic year, where they can come up with feedback sessions and talk about those 18 concepts that were actually used under spaced repetition model. And the revision can happen. That's more like coming under the feedback sessions category. So that brings us to the almost the end of the session, but I want to show you one more thing, which is going to be from the game perspective. When the revision happens, it'll be great if you can use some online tools. For example, when we say that spaced repetition model has to happen after the second day and after the fifth day or eighth day, whatever it is, there are some tools that you can actually use. One of the tools is called as Anki, ANKI, which is more like a downloadable version, and you can create flashcards related to that, and that plays an important role. So that's called as Anki. I'm not getting into the details, but Jeopardy Labs, this is something that I really like, which is more like a flashcard game. Look at this. You have to answer the questions, and let's get into. So what a cycle. There is 100 marks, 200 marks, 300 marks, and you can actually click on it. There is a question going to be coming at the back. Let's find a Jeopardy game. I hope everybody's able to look at the screen. I'll show you what it is. You can type anything that you want depending on your subject. Surprisingly, most of the topics are already present over here. But right now, I would like to go with space mental health. Let's go to mental health so that everybody can get related to this. Now, under mental health, there is this game over here. 25 questions are there. I want something smaller. Now, this is even more bigger. Okay. Okay, 10,000 enter title. Okay, let's try to go with something. Okay, the first example itself. The moment I click on this teachers, you can see this. How many teams are there? You can have 0 teams if you want, or else you can have 2 teams depending on your requirement. Let's go with no teams. It's going to be a self practice right now. Now you can see that this is mental health 2.0, random positive mental health. You can have your own categories. You can name anything. The first thing, the question comes for 100 marks. The moment I click on this, look at this, teachers. A condition that affects a person's thinking, feeling, behavior, or mood. These conditions deeply impact day-to-day living and may also affect the ability to relate to others. What is this called as? So the moment I, try to guess, people will try to guess it. Let me try to guess something over here. A condition that affects a person's thinking, feeling, behavior, or mood. What will it affect? Mood swings? I don't know. I press the space bar. The moment I press the space bar, oh, it is the definition of what is mental illness. Okay. So here the flashcard is not like coming up with one word. It is exactly probably the definition of mental illness. Then again, we go to the next over here, you know, then we go with, for example, 300 marks ka. The most commonly diagnosed mental health disorder in the world. What is that? Oh, it is called as generalized anxiety disorder. It is present with almost all the teachers, if I'm not wrong. Especially when there is an announcement, there's going to be a principal meeting in the next half an hour. I don't know. So this I found to be quite interesting. This is also called a stock therapy. It's also called a stock therapy. Super Sunday workshop. I don't know. Counseling. Yeah. Anyways, let's escape from this. This is Jeopardy basically teachers. You can actually play this game, Jeopardy Labs. It's free and open source. And the other one is called as the Super Memo. This is more for the language per se, and from there you can connect with learning LSRW, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and of course other subjects also. I'm not getting into the details of these websites except Jeopardy Labs because it was quite easy to explain during the session. If you want, you can get into the details of the other two and you can explore. So that's with respect to the revision methodologies, teachers. So SQ3R method, peer teaching, group mind maps, self-explanation, feedback sessions, and then we go back where we got into the details of active recall, spaced repetition, interleaving practice, Cornell note-taking system, mind mapping. Some that we already do, which we regularly do, is having analogies, creating mnemonics, assigning roles during the concept explanation, where we say that you are the Hitler, you are Shah Jahan, something like that. And whenever the children actually look at these students, they remember, oh, yeah, I know you. You were Akbar or Birbal, whoever it is. Retrieval of information. It's like like throwback Thursday. You remember what we did the last Thursday? You remember what we did the last Monday? Something like that. So that is more like retrieval of information, which is again a very effective method of revision. So that's it, teachers. That brings us to the end of the session today. We got into too much of scientific methods, if I'm not wrong, but yes, Jeopardy can be used for any subject. You can create your own flashcards. You're right. And with respect to all these aspects of the basic methodologies of revision, I'm pretty sure at least 4 to 5 you've been already using. You just probably did not know the name of it, but now that you know about it, it's just an extra exposure. And your conversations with your fellow colleagues, or if you go to some other place, it would have become a little more intellectual. And when people talk intellectually, they are liked by other peoples, and when somebody likes you, that increases your confidence. All you need to do is spend 1 hour on a particular subject regularly. That could be a Super Sunday workshop or any particular platform. In my case, I always look into the latest TED Talks. So it's like every day, one day, get into one TED Talk. That's enough. 20 minutes. TED Talks are always less than 20 minutes. So that 20 minutes is my boost of information on a daily basis. So you also hold on to something. Super Sunday Workshop is just one of the methodologies, right? That's it with my side, from my side, teachers. Great interacting with one and all. I would like to mention that next week Sunday, again 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, if anybody wants to register, you could come to the Super Teacher website, where you'll have this column of events right on the top, upcoming events or events. You can see this over here. The moment you click on events, you'll get to see the next topic of the day over here. So you can see that next topic is Staff from Politics, and we will be talking about the types and perspectives. Politics में क्या types है? You will like it. Next is effects of politics in a school setup, identification and mitigation of staff from politics, role of school leadership in conflict resolution. These are going to be the main areas of touching. So you just have to click on join, register, and that's going to be the next session. Then again, further more sessions and multiple topics of your interest will be coming over here. So this was Super Sunday Workshop on revision, which we just completed right now. And these are the channels. I would like to, let's go to Super Teacher Official. And it's important for you to, so when you are able to subscribe to a channel and click on the bell icon, this basically will make sure that you get automatic notifications. That's it. I'm not able to send the notifications to everyone, and that's one strong reason that I request everybody to please subscribe to the channel. I would like to share the link as well right on the chat, which you already have, by the way. Okay, share channel, copy, come to the everyone in the meeting, and that's it. Okay, so that's it, teachers. Great interacting with one and all. It's always raining here in Kolkata. Great weather out there. I'll be reaching Bangalore probably next week, but before that, Hyderabad. I love traveling and connecting with all of you wherever I am on every Sunday, 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. Looking forward to meet you all in the next Super Sunday workshop of Staff from Politics. Until then, thank you so much, and Jai Hind. Thank you, teachers. Thank you so much. If there is any queries, you can put it on the chat. I'm going to be here for another 5 minutes. Uma Krishnan, you've completed 25 session. I hope you have completed the reflection form on time. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, it's raining here. You're right, Somashri ma'am. Computer science teachers training will happen in Kolkata physically once, but not right now, Leena ma'am. That's a good question. We are planning to do that in Hyderabad and Bangalore. In collaboration with IIT Hyderabad, there'll be a physical training program called a CS GEMS for computer science teachers. In Hyderabad, it will happen at a center called as T Hub. In Bangalore, it will happen at a center called as Ashirvad. We'll be rolling out these information, physical training sessions every Friday and Saturday. Yes. When the people at home, talk less to you, you prefer to talk outside. That's exactly what I'm doing, I guess. Okay, thank you for, okay, thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. If there is any query, you can put it on the chat. Thank you so much. Okay, Pushpalata, ma'am. Next session, yeah. Next session is something that cannot happen in a physical setup. Actually, in a classroom, when you go and say to the children that the naughtiest boy or a girl in the class, the moment you say that, every child will look at that one boy who was really naughty. Just imagine the same thing happening during the session of staff room politics. It's going to be quite embarrassing, right? So yeah, it's a perfect online topic is what I feel. Squaff, let's do it again. Who's this? Venkata Satya. Sure. Funny Kumar, right? Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Rajni ma'am. Hey, is there a way to type the answer or simply recall and Jupyter? You can, Sulba ma'am, we can type the answers before itself. So right now, whatever I used was more like a template that was pre-present. We can in fact create everything right from the scratch. So that's how you can do it. And it has got multiple options also. The flashcard cards can have 3 sides. That's interesting of Jeopardy Labs instead of only 2. Thank you. The reflection form is coming on the chat. It will be there right away. Yes, you can do with their bring your own device methodologies, or else you can do it in the board itself, where single screen is present and below you will have team 1, team 2, team 3 written, and you can increase the score manually. Yeah, right now it was more like just a quick explanation, ma'am. But if you need some clarity, you can call me. I would be very happy to talk to you and help you. Great. Thank you. Thank you. I'll be announcing that, Lena, ma'am. Yes, there's definitely going to be a session on obedience and discipline among the students. Definitely, but that's a detailed topic. We'll talk about it. Yes, Sunita, ma'am, you're right. Okay, Datti, ma'am. Sure, Jeet Kaur, ma'am, it'll be done. Thank you. You're not able to open your reflection form on the registered mail ID. Click on it, ma'am. You'll be able to open it. @gmail.com, it should be ideally. If it's there like that, it'll be easy for you to open. Sometimes the school.com will not allow you to open external Google Forms. So check on that. Uh, my team members are putting the reflection form on the YouTube live chat as well, and even in the description section of the YouTube. Definitely, Priya ma'am. It's a very good method of see. Open book test for revision will come under the SQ3R model. Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. Sure, Sheelata ma'am. Thank you, Sunita ma'am. Quality assignments. Good topic. Please explain what you're saying about. Okay. I was talking about I'm just responding to the chat queries, ma'am. I don't remember which chat that I'm. So sure, Suresh, sure, it'll be let you'll get the notification. Cornell note taking method is like a service road for the main road. That's an interesting analogy. Oh yeah, correct. Definitely a service road for the main road. In fact, you will not believe, back in those days when the notebooks used to be there, the notebooks itself used to have the division. Did you know that? The Max notebooks used to be not like these days we open the notebooks like this, right? See, it's like this. It's like you open it like this. But I remember Maths notebooks used to be like this. You open it like this, and the book used to have a margin like Cornell note taking methodologies. Well, it didn't have the labels, but it used to have the margins. It was quite a common thing in the government of Tamil Nadu. I remember that very well because I've seen my cousins' notebooks and all, and I used to wonder why is it not there in. Dharti ma'am, you just have to call me and I'll be there. As simple as that. You have my number. Yeah, great. Sure, Kajal ma'am. Message me, ma'am. I'll share the presentation with you. Sure, Rosaline ma'am. You message me. I'll be sharing the PPT with you. Done, Sakshi ma'am. We'll do that. Quality assignments and teaching learning materials, you could do it. Correct. You're right, Sudha ma'am. Most of it, you might be doing it in one way or the other, but you didn't know the names. Now it has given you a little bit of confidence that, this is what it is called as. That's it. Sure. I have dropped my number on the chat. Effective lesson planning is done, I think, in the month of May, if I'm not wrong. Malini ma'am, we'll do it again in the next year, just before the academic year beginning. Yes, Sunita ma'am. Happy Guru Purnima to everyone. How did I miss that? Great. Okay, let's close the session for the day, teachers. Great interacting with everyone. Some of you are really very consistent. Gives me a very big sense of responsibility, nervousness, fear, and all these things on a positive side to prepare more and more and deliver and show a lot of confidence, but at the same time, show confidence enough to say that whatever is produced is not the ultimate and there's more to learn. I hope I'm able to meet that expectation. Requesting everybody to take it forward even 5%. That's like done. You use a spaced repetition model, talk about it to your friends, family, and colleagues. I'm pretty sure you'll remember things for a very long time. Yeah. Thank you, Kajal ma'am, means a lot. So let me close for the day. I'll meet you again in the next Super Sunday workshop. Have a happy Sunday or a Super Sunday. Bye everyone.
you